League of Legends midlaners versus 1 billion lions. A tier list. These are your favorite champions according to lore, as you would normally expect them, versus 1 billion standard African lions. They don't have any special powers, but on occasion they have been known to make formations known as the lion ladder, the lion boat, the lion helicopter, the lion raft, etc. So they are pretty crafty lions against some of the strongest characters in the canon. Let's see how it goes. Ari. Ari is what is known as a Vasani, and their kind is nearly extinct. They had a lot to do with the Shadow Isles, formerly the Blessed Isles. The lore of Ari as we know it starts with her being feral and roaming the outskirts of Ionia. Her powers really revolve around life force draining and dream draining, and getting into your memories and dreams and manipulating them as a way of almost sucking out your life force. This has been seen on great scales, but it has drastically drained her energy. So while she could take on a bunch of lions, this is 1 billion. And what is the dream of a lion, if not to just eat you? So even with her super dash speed, even with all her life draining capabilities, she doesn't drastically scale off of life draining like something like Aatrox would. She more just feeds off of it. It's like if I ate 1,000 hamburgers, I wouldn't grow considerably stronger. I would just be fed. That's how I see it anyway. She goes in lion food. Akali is a ninja. She's a student of Shen. She's being trained to occupy the role of the Fist of Shadow, which is basically the head assassin of the Kinku Order. She's an expert in assassination and stealth combat, but lions don't care. Lions will sniff you out, lions will rip you apart. You can't stealthily kill a couple lions inside the horde of millions, right? Obviously she's dead. Akshan has no allies to resurrect, so his gun is useless. Aside from it being a spirit-based Gatling type gun, but as much as he can grapple around, as much as he can shoot a machine type gun in omnidirections in a spinning formation, he just gets overwhelmed. Anivia, this one should be completely obvious. There are some estimations that even before her powers, that she could occupy the size of the Freljord itself. If you look at the Freljord, you can really kind of see it's shaped like a winged phoenix, but she's at least mountain-sized in some of her avatar depictions. And on top of that, she has canonical feats, or canonical in the sense that they are legends, but they're most likely true, that she causes eternal winters of the Freljord, that she is practically unkillable in more than just a spirit sense. She's unkillable in a sense that her spiritual ability is the inability to die. So on top of spirits not being easily killed anyway, she is especially impossible to kill, because she is the spirit god of death and rebirth within the Freljord. Also, she's the mother of true ice, which is extremely powerful itself. Annie is a tough one actually, because with Annie, I'm going to give her Tibbers. And Tibbers is actually a demon known as Tybalk. Tybalk is a lesser demon of fire. The thing about demons is they scale off of what they are attached to. So if Tybalk is a demon of fire and lions are flammable, would Tybalk scale off of the more lions he's burning up? We have seen Tybalk be extremely massive to the point where he can engulf an entire Noxian school. So my question is, at this massive size, would he start a massive lion fire that only empowers him and Annie to the point where it just gets completely out of control and the lions are just throwing themselves at the fire that ends up only scaling him? There was also a technique mentioned before where the lions would be able to take out the sun by more or less urinating on the sun. Would that be applicable here? It has to be a draw toss-up because it has a chance of working. If you look at Aurelion Sol's body, each of those small little specks is a star. Even though the space in the Runeterra canon works differently, he is still of incomprehensible size. On top of that, he can just throw a star at the lion horde and just repeatedly kill them. It could take as little as 10 stars to eviscerate, eradicate, obliterate the lion horde. Aurora, she's a Vastaya that has the capability of talking and communing with spirits. Her current lore revolves around her talking to a sibling of Ornn and Volibear to figure out why it's dying and why it's gone feral, and what she can do to help the spirit come back to its normal self. Its normal self would be something like Volibear, where it can communicate, where it can create avatars, or like Ornn, where it can perform its feats based on its spiritual guidance. Like Ornn is the spirit of the forge, so he forges. Aurora's friend is called Hellstrek, and we don't know what it's the spirit of, so it can't really perform its spiritual duties, likely because it doesn't have enough worshippers. So if you combine Aurora and this spirit she's companion with, maybe they could win. Maybe it's the spirit of lion taming, who knows? But Aurora just doesn't have enough lore to concretely figure out the extent of her powers. Azir If he just summons sand, the lions are engulfed and overwhelmed and completely destroyed. On top of that, he can summon an infinite sand army that has no weakness to lions. He can summon 1 billion sand soldiers that each could kill 3 lions. It's not just sand soldiers that you see in game. He has a varied sand military of different shapes and sizes. It's completely over. Rand is one with the world rune. The world runes have been seen causing massive craters in the Runeterran map, specifically an area near the Noxian capital. But the thing is, Brand is simply merged with what I believe is a shard of a world rune. Not a complete world rune, but just a shard of one. The world runes are the sources of magic in this canon. So if you want to be combined with something to make yourself powerful, it would be a world rune. And this is likely a rune of fire or destruction. Rise is not really present in the lore as much as I want him to be. So I have to scale him based off of what a rune can do. We have seen runes have the capability of bringing back life. We have seen runes cause as much damage as the ruination itself. We have seen runes grow crops instantly. We have seen runes scare off trolls. We have seen runes make craters. But we have really not seen anything from Brand, a man mixed with a rune who believe that he can destroy or engulf 1 billion lions. I have to put him here, but I genuinely think that he would be lion food eventually. Cassiopeia, she is lion food. She cannot stun, she cannot poison, she cannot trick or assassinate 1 billion lions. Corki, like I said in the last video, yordles are a tricky case now because I don't know how they scale. What happened to Heimerdinger and other arcane yordles completely threw off my perception of how to scale yordles. They're magical, whimsical beings that seemingly can't die and seemingly have this power to get out of any situation. So do I think Corki could win? Do I think any yordle could win? Pretty much yes. I think Corki could fly forever and drop bombs. I don't think Corki has a fuel tank that he has to refuel. I think it's just power based on magic, and Corki just wanted to look like a Piltover copter driver because he's a yordle. That's what they do. Fizz is actually a primordial yordle. I have a theory, and this theory has probably been said a couple times, so it's not my own theory, but because Fizz is older than most yordles, it's very possible that he was not exposed to the kind of spiritual magic or spiritual crazy magic that a lot of these more modern yordles have. He's thousands of years older than the oldest yordles that you know, aside from Nar. So more than most yordles, I believe, is lion food, but he could still also be magical. We just don't know enough about yordles and their history to say for sure. Galio would not even activate realistically. There's nothing magic about the lions that would power Galio back on. So it would just be a statue versus 1 billion lions. But let's say he did turn on, it's 1 billion lions. Think of 1 million lions and then multiply it by 1,000. And while he's not really lion food because they wouldn't eat him, he would lose. Heimerdinger, just like Fizz, we see Heimerdinger seemingly die. The notion that yordles respawn in Bandle City is not supported anywhere but voice lines, and it's maybe 2 voice lines with Teemo. So while I do believe that they are spiritual beings and they just respawn in Bandle City and they just go to Bandle City, I don't have concrete evidence. But disregarding all of that, I do think Heimerdinger could invent something that would help him in this situation. It's just yordles are so hard to scale. Kassadin is a really awesome case. He is underrated in lore. He has legendary weapons of the ascended of the past age. While he's a chemical and technologically augmented human, specifically built to counter the void, I do believe that he would fall to 1 billion lions, just because it's a bunch of lions and he doesn't scale. Katarina has been seen dancing around fully armored knights in 10v1s, but this is 1 billion v1. She's an assassin, this is a horde. LeBlanc. Your first thought would probably be that Blanc just makes a bunch of clones, but we have not seen the extent of how many clones LeBlanc can make, and I highly doubt that it is 1 billion, right? That would just be ridiculous. She would be everyone in the continent of Valorant. So while I think that she could pull something out of her magic bag, I don't think LeBlanc, as you know her in a baseline, could take on 1 billion lions. Lysandra is interesting because at her very, very prime, that lasted a brief moment, she siphoned the magic off of several different armies, an entire species of Yeti, and then the void itself. You channel all of that magic into sealing void watchers that are massive. So do I think that she could destroy all the lions in that moment? Yes, I do believe that's a possibility, but she's in a weakened state. She was packed up by Nunu and Willamp. So at her absolute prime, yes, she beats the lions. But right now, I think 1 billion lions could outdo her freezing attacks, and they won't be really affected by her mind control powers. Lux's light magic is very powerful, but again, it really drains her. She's really new with it, and she just does not have enough to consistently do a massive beam around her. And she's just not that experienced. Malzahar canonically spawns a bunch of voidlings. Could one voidling beat one lion? I doubt it. Could he even spawn a billion of the voidlings? I doubt it. Could he mind control a billion lions? I doubt it. Would he call upon the void to gather a billion creatures to fight the lions? I doubt it, because if he could, he would have done that already and taken over Shurima. I really don't think Malzahar has what it takes. Mel's magic is more protective, as we see in Arcane. I do believe that she had some projectiles, but again, it's a billion lions. Now Fury is a Darken, and they scale off of Carnage. It might even be to the extent that she could assimilate some of the lions. I won't say that outright, but at least she could absorb the carnage of the lions and grow ever bigger. That's what the Darken do. Orianna in the modern era is a singed Victor kind of evolved unit, and those were seen to be very powerful, but Jace was still able to kill one with Mel, but that did involve a bit of magic, which the lions don't have. I still do believe that given a billion lions, an evolved unit will fall. Kiana is a princess of the elements, but she does not have enough magic to take on a billion lions. Skarner might, because he's massive and has a bunch of earth magic, but Kiana is too small, too new, and doesn't have it. Rise, if you give him all his world runes, this is pretty easy to say that he is able to kill the lions. The world runes can be written to do whatever you want, basically. He sees through time, the runes can revive the dead, the runes can cause the ruination, like I said earlier. Runes can do practically anything you want, because they are the source of magic, and Rise is a master of them. He is the #1 master of them in the entire canon, as far as we know, obviously. So if anyone is going to use magic to kill a bunch of lions, it's Rise. Silas, without magic, is just a guy, and the lions don't have magic. So Syndra sucks the life force out of creatures, right? When she was young, she sucked the life force out of a spirit willow tree. Syndra is kind of written to be an anti-avatar, an anti-spirit of Ionia, meaning that the spirit of Ionia is the collective power of all the spiritual energy within Ionia, and Syndra is the counter to that. She also feeds off the spirits of Ionia, but she feeds off of them in a negative way. So while the passive strength of spirits on Ionia fuel karma, I believe that Syndra can be fueled by the spirits of Ionia, but she has to siphon out that magic. So the way I see it, Syndra drains the lions and continues to grow more powerful, more unhinged, more destructive as the fight goes on, to the extent where we see her move islands, right, at a base state after just waking up. I can only imagine what she could do after draining the life force of a billion or a million creatures. She should go higher, but I have my doubts. Syndra just does not have enough lore. Talia has an excellent mastery of the earth element, but you have to look at it like this. If she is having trouble with Rek'Sai, he's going to have trouble with a billion lions. Talon, like her sister, is just an assassin. He's a 1v1 specialist, but this is a lot more than 1v1. Twisted Fate, his cards are actually magic, and while the cards are explosive, while the cards allow you to actually teleport, he just doesn't have enough. There's only 52 cards in a deck, and there's a billion lions. It's not enough. Veigar probably wouldn't even be able to kill one lion. I believe part of his yordle magic prevents him from ever doing anything that would result in a bad outcome, if that makes sense. But on a intellectual level, do I think Veigar knows of magic that could kill a bunch of lions? Yes. But he's still a yordle, and he still is very questionable all the time. Vel'Koz is actually pretty massive, and he does have that eye beam, but with all the tentacles and all his eye beams, I just don't think it's enough. I just think he gets overwhelmed. If he has 10 tentacles, that's 100 million lions per tentacle. It's just not enough. Vex is partially responsible for the ruination. Her and Shadow are able to amplify grief and amplify dread and amplify those negative emotions, but she's the depressed whimsy yordle. I just don't see her depression really carrying a fight against a billion lions. But then again, she's a yordle. She might not even be able to die because they are spirits. Victor. Old Victor is immediately lion food. He was just a scientist. But new Victor, I have to just assume he wins. He's completely broken. He has reality warping powers. He has assimilation powers. He has so much. It's ridiculous. Vladimir partially gets his powers under the Darken themselves. And to the extent that he was able to drain the life from a Darken to further fuel himself. My only hiccup is I don't think Vladimir actually scales like the Darken do when it comes to Carnage. It really seems that Vladimir can bend blood, and then Vladimir can use blood to make himself younger and more powerful, but not to the extent where he grows massive or gets additional powers like the Darken do. Also, it's a lot of lions. I would probably put him down here actually. Darath is a Bakai, but he is what essentially is someone looking to ascend that took in more magic than the average ascended. So if I, in the first video, allowed Nasus and Renekton to go up here because they are powerful, you have to understand that Zerath is arguably more powerful and is almost pure magic. There is not really anything you can do to harm him, and he just is passively going to kill you with his pure magic beams. We see Yasuo creating massive tornadoes that catch up hundreds, maybe even thousands of units, but this is 1 billion. He can dash, he can do magic, he can use wind, he can ult them all, he can knock them all up, but eventually the Lions will win. Zed also can't make a million clones, and he's not intangible. There is still a real Zed that can be really damaged. Ziggs, if anyone can make a Yordle bomb, it's going to be him. And if anyone can build a specifically lion killing bomb, it's Ziggs. So obviously I put him with the rest of the Yordles, but he has a higher than normal chance, if that makes sense. Zoe is completely broken. She has portals. She has the aspect of Twilight on her side. She can travel through time. She can throw stars at you. It's completely out of the question to think that Zoe could lose to a bunch of lions. This is how the list came out. I like how it looks. The majority of people are losing, but there are just some that I have questions about, and then there are just, you know, the standard characters that are completely broken, that are god level, that scale off of Carnage, that I have to put up here. What are your thoughts? There's another video, top laners versus a billion lions, and then we'll do the other videos after we make them. What did I get wrong? What would you change?